Matt Ryan is officially introduced as the Colts quarterback, but his twin sons steal the show at the news conference. Welcome inside the comfy and dry confines of the Channel 13 studios. A rainy night, isn't it, tonight?
It is a rainy night, and you mentioned the twin boys, and I know we're going to get into it. However, that's what all I saw. Like, that's what I'm most excited about, these little babies.
Yeah, this new first family of the Indianapolis Colts. You're going to want to see that story tonight. Dave and Taylor will be along in a moment, but as we do every weeknight here at 10 o'clock, want to bring in Angela, and tonight we've got a lot to talk about, Angela. We've got rain tonight, possible storms tomorrow.
Possible storms tomorrow. We go under the risk for severe weather. It's been kind of a blah day.
Sure
yeah,
has.
we
After
talked
yesterday.
About, how difficult it is to kind of ping pong back and forth with the weather. It's like really nice, and you might have short sleeves working out outside. And today we were bundled up. I had on a coat and a sweater, and you gotta. It's a ping pong.
It is, and that is spring for Central Indiana for sure. And we're going to be back into the 60s tomorrow. And not as much rain tomorrow, but as you pointed out, we are turning our attention to the risk for severe weather. Live Doppler 13 radar tonight shows the rain, and it is still raining. It's been heavy at times most of the day. Rain totals today in the range of 1 to 2 inches. We've got some heavy rain moving back over downtown right now, up toward the northwest side, Whitestown, Zionsville, and that's tracking northeast toward those of you in Carmel and Westfield, Fishers, Noblesville, Cicero. If it holds together east side of Indianapolis, Lawrence, get ready. Some of that heavier rain is moving your way. No lightning with that. We've been keeping a close eye on the Gulf Coast. Second day of severe storms, in particular tornadoes. It was East Texas yesterday. Today it's been Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. For us, no threat for severe weather tonight, but we're under the risk for severe storms tomorrow on our scale of 1 to 5. 1, 2 for most of us, so relatively low risk. However, all modes of severe weather are in play for tomorrow, including damaging winds, a tornado, large hail, and flooding. The heavy rain, the widespread heavy rain comes to an end shortly after midnight, but if we get a couple of thunderstorms tomorrow that produce brief heavy rain, that could quickly lead to some flash flooding because the ground is saturated. We already have some standing water. Now you might be wondering, okay, when are we going to get that chance for severe storms? It'll be sometime after the lunch hour, so we're thinking noon to about 6 p.m. And it's not going to be a widespread severe event. It's going to be these individual storms that would develop, especially if we get some breaks in the cloud deck tomorrow. That heats up the atmosphere, destabilizes the atmosphere, and that's when we could get a couple severe storms. So the timeline for that afternoon, early evening.
Okay, this is the perfect reminder to have that WTHR weather app so that you can keep Angela in your pocket.
I used mine today because we had a couple of dry hours at my house. I got my walk-in today. Not as long as I usually do.
Yes,
but the app was very helpful.
Well, you're referencing the fact there was a little window.
There was a window.
You can just get out there and do it.
Yeah, and I think we'll have some windows tomorrow too.
She's a good lady to keep around, folks. Get the app.
Get the app on your phone. That's right. All right, we'll get back with Angela in a moment. We want to go ahead and talk about our big story this evening. We're going to talk about what's happening over at the Indiana State House, a story that we've been covering over the last couple of days. The Republican leaders at the Indiana State House now promising to go ahead and override the veto of that transgender sports bill that would prevent transgender girls from participating in girls' sports team in school. We've got Rachel Krause joining us tonight, and Rachel is taking a look at a couple of things, Felicia, tonight. Number one, wants to know if this does become law here in the state of Indiana, will it hold up? And also just getting some reaction tonight from the ACLU. So Rachel, tell us about your story.
Yeah, well, I spoke with an IU law professor, and he says what happens next with the law, if it does become law, is a little unclear, and there are a couple of reasons why. So one issue that they could look at if the bill does become law is that typically transgender people have been historically discriminated against, and courts often tend to look harshly at those kinds of laws to see if it could further marginalize a community like that, and they'll take a really harsh look, a really skeptical look at those kind of bills. Now, they could also take a look at this based on discrimination of sex. The Supreme Court has weighed in on this for transgender people based on employment, but they have not yet weighed in on trans youth in sports. We've seen cases come up on a state level, and those have been decided based on really narrow circumstances, not a broad kind of strike down to a law like this. So while it could be struck down, it's not really clear right now, but I'll of course break into more of that coming up tonight at 11.
Okay, I mean, clearly we're going to have a lot more questions moving
right.
forward, because the big thing is, if this does become law, how is it enforced? What are the legalities behind it? It's still a lot of questions that I know folks are going back and forth with, Rachel.
Yeah, and Indiana's not the only one. A number of other states are currently facing legal challenges over those same issues that you mentioned. How do you enforce it? How would it work? And again, it all comes down to if it can actually be enforced.
And when are the Republican lawmakers at the Indiana State House expected to make a decision in terms of whether or not they'll override the governor's veto?
Well, not anytime soon. So, of course, Governor Holcomb decided to veto that yesterday, and we've heard from GOP lawmakers saying that they do intend to override the governor's veto, but they're not expected to take a hard look at that until May, and the ACLU of Indiana has promised to fight that and litigate it if it does become law here in the Hoosier State.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of conversation within our newsroom. Just would there be any potential backlash, regardless of where you sit on this issue?
Right.
What businesses determine to what they decide they want to do, that really impacts all of us here in this state. So
for
I
sure.
know we'll be standing by. We can't predict the future, but we'll be standing by to see what happens with that.
Yeah, that's Rachel Krause. She'll be joining us tonight on 13 News at 11. Rachel, thanks so much for joining us here at 10 o'clock with a preview.
Thanks so much.
All right, let's talk about the big sports story of the day. Indiana getting its first look at the new Colts quarterback. And tell you what, Felicia, Matt Ryan knows how to make an appearance.
Yeah,
He's got his beautiful family with him.
Talking about the big story of the day, we got 2 new twins in the house. And who doesn't love twins? Of course, he comes in dressed to the nine in our Colts blue, and it was just really cute. It was really fun to see.
Sure was. Yeah, Dave and Taylor were out there at today's introductory news conference, and here's their report.
Hi, everybody. It's been a wild 24 hours for the Indianapolis Colts. Matt Ryan, the new quarterback of your Colts, arriving on the scene today. In fact, take a look at this. Here's the quarterback arriving, Matt Ryan, 36-year-old, with his wife, Sarah, and their twin boys, Marshall and Johnny, 4 years old, all decked out for the occasion with their brand new Colts jerseys, wearing that number 2 proudly. This deal came together just over the past week. Ryan says he met with the Colts over Zoom on Saturday night, and he was sold. After 14 seasons in Atlanta, he decided Indianapolis was the next place he needed to be.
It was a really, really cool meeting for me to take, and then I had to sit down with my family and say, okay, what makes the most sense for us? And I just knew with the roster that they talked about, their belief in the players that they have here, the belief in the way that they do things, the time was just right for me. And I felt like I needed to do it. And I came downstairs. I was up in our house, and I was in my office, and I came downstairs, and my wife was like, you look different, you look at, and so I knew kind of at that point that was the direction, we wanted to go.
Taylor Tannenbaum joins me now. Okay, Matt Ryan, after 14 seasons in Atlanta, now trying to learn this brand new system and learning new players here in Indianapolis.
Yeah, he's been texting a couple of the guys. He said the common theme throughout all those text messages is winning. These guys just want to win. He actually had lunch today with his new center, Ryan Kelly, and Quentin Nelson, the all-pro offensive lineman. He also spoke very highly of Jonathan Taylor, said he watched a lot of film on him beating up on Buffalo last year. But the one thing is, he has 2 years on the contract here. But Matt Ryan says he wants to play for as long as he can.
I feel really good. My body feels really good. I still feel like I can play at as high a level as I ever have. And as long as that is, nobody has a crystal ball to know exactly how long it's going to be. But as long as I feel good and feel like I can play well, I'm gonna try and play.
And Dave, one of the funny things is we've seen over the last few years the elder statesmen, I guess, the quarterbacks in the league, like a Matthew Stafford and a Tom Brady, leave organizations they've been with for over a decade, go to new teams, and immediately win a Super Bowl. He says hopefully they can bottle some of that up here and maybe make that happen in Indy.
All right, so look, we're happy Matt Ryan is here, but those kids,
Oh, they were adorable.
so cute, weren't they?
Yeah, the NFL tweeted out, and I'm not going to get the exact wording right, but that the twins knew the assignment.
Yes, they
dressed
understood the assignment.
Understood the assignment. They had blue loafers and everything, and adorable.
Yeah, super cute.
So I know a lot of people are talking about, is this going to be it? Could this get us to any championship or any divisional championship or something like that?
Yeah.
I will say, watching the press conference with Matt Ryan, he talked so much about the family's decision to come here, what they were talking about, the conversations in his house, and it most certainly helps for someone who wants to be here.
Amen.
I think that can help our chances and help the success of this organization and him in his new role.
Yeah.
The fact that he wants to be here, his family life seems like it'll be good here. I mean, I thought it was good.
And he wasn't committed to just 2 years.
Yeah,
you heard
that
him.
part too.
You know, I feel good. I want to play as long as I want to play.
I think Matt Ryan sees the Colts as being a much better team than the Atlanta Falcons team that he left.
He came for a reason.
The Falcons had one of the worst offenses and defenses last year. The Colts, top 10 in defenses, I think, with their offensive line, and obviously Jonathan Taylor, the NFL's best statistical running back last year. I think he's looking at this as a better situation.
He's been in the NFL 14 years,
yep.
so it's not like he's just guessing out here or trying something new. I would think that this was a calculated decision that he feels like
For sure.
they can really get some kind of win. If it's not the big ring, some kind of win.
And there are veteran quarterbacks that have done the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Tom Brady,
Yep.
Peyton Manning, they ended up in other cities
Right.
and won Super Bowls. So why not Matt Ryan?
And we
I know.
shouted out the twins. Let's just shout out his
she's
missus
so-
for her beautiful pantsuit.
was
We
awesome.
saw you, sis. We saw you.
So welcome to Indianapolis, Matt Ryan and his family tonight, and so good to have all of you with us here at 10. Again, if you've missed the forecast, tell us what we're going to be waking up to tomorrow.
And the rain isn't going to be as heavy tomorrow morning. So if you have a few things that you didn't get to take care of today outside, I think you have a few dry hours tomorrow. Heavy rain right now ends shortly after midnight. It'll be spotty, so scattered showers and thunderstorms tomorrow. What's different tomorrow, we go under the risk for severe weather, so we'll keep you posted on that.
One other thing, Jim says, I'm surprised Angela has been quiet about her Purdue Boilermakers.
Oh, right. Well, they've got work
Not behind the scenes.
They've
She
got-
hasn't been quiet behind the scenes.
They've got work to do, some free throws to practice. I mean, I think they missed 13.
Yeah, that did.
So,
They
we'll
said
get there.
If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Just practice those free throws. And again, number 50, he's my key to the win.
Right.
And Ivy, of course. But
And their game is Friday.
Friday. Friday at
against St. Peter's.
Yeah, 7
the
o'clock.
15 seed that's already knocked off Kentucky. So we'll
I think
see.
it's at 7, and
Yeah.
so I'll be dressed,
Boiler up.
boiler up, and we've got a contingent going to Philly. I think they leave tomorrow.
They do. In
So
fact,
look
we'll
for
have
a bunch of coverage.
Yeah, that's right. All right, and we hope that you'll join Felicia and Angela and myself tonight on 13 News at 11. Thanks so much for joining us on whatever platform you may be watching tonight at 10 o'clock. Good night.
See you then.